Good afternoon, everyone. We all set up electronically?
Yes, Mayor, we are good to go.
Excellent. It's April 25th, 2022 of our City Council special work session, calling to order. And notice to the public that the City Council may vote to go into executive session on any of the agendized items. Roll call, please.
Mayor Deasy,
Here?
Vice Mayor Sweet,
Here.
Councilmember Aslan.
He's in the building.
Thank you. Councilmember McCarthy,
Here.
Councilmember Salas.
Present.
Councilmember Shimoni.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Salas, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? And Councilmember Sweet, our mission statement, please.
The mission of the City of Flagstaff is to protect and enhance the quality of life for all.
Thank you. And Councilmember McCarthy, our land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The Flagstaff City Council humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCarthy. That brings us to agenda item number 4, City Council vacancy applicant introductions. And I'm trying to pull it up here, but if Ms. Salzberg, you could give an intro and let us know in what order here.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Stacy Salzberg, City Clerk. So tonight, as you mentioned, Mayor, we are going to be hearing from each of our City Council applicants. I will be pulling their names from a hat to determine the order, so I will just announce those as we go along. I'll pause really quick to see if there's any questions before we get started.
Any questions, Council?
I found a risk management hat.
There you
Just
go.
as good.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you, and I'll pull the first name.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, our first applicant is Mackenzie Jones.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Wow, I get to be the first one. No pressure. Here, is this all right? There we go. My name is Mackenzie Jones, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak with you today and tell you a little bit about myself. I feel lucky to have called Flagstaff home for the past 13 years. My husband works for Lowell Observatory, maintaining the Lowell Discovery Telescope, and we have 2 kids in the public school system. From an early age, I learned how environmental and political factors can impact one's personal life and health. My mother grew up down the street from a chemical plant that contaminated the groundwater and impacted the health of my family. This shaped my childhood and evolved into a desire to ensure that everyone has equitable access to a healthy, livable community. I was a government and law major in college, where I focused on water policy. I then attended the Masters in Sustainable Communities program at NAU. My graduate work focused on community organizing to drive policy change and craft solutions to social problems. As a result, I see community engagement as a foundational to roles in civic leadership. My first job in Flagstaff was working for the College of Business at NAU, coordinating student scholarships and experiential learning activities. I spent the last 11 years working on various elements of municipal sustainability in Flagstaff and then Sedona. So I've spent a lot of time here before. In Flagstaff, I oversaw the city's programming related to open space, food policy, community stewards, and materials management. And hopefully that's not my phone, because that would be awkward. And as board president of Flagstaff Food Link, I managed program development, including the rollout of a healthy food incentive program, local farmer grants, and farmer apprenticeships. One of my proudest accomplishments was working with the community to acquire Picture Canyon and Observatory Mesa, which required obtaining over $8 million in grant funding to match the city's open space bonds. Both processes involve navigating land acquisitions, tribal partnerships, significant community engagement, and complex dynamics with state agencies. In 2018, I was hired to start the City of Sedona's first sustainability program. While in Sedona, I led the development of the city's climate action plan, which established a community-wide target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030. I worked with APS to secure over $500,000 in support for solar and electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and I collaborated with interfaith organizers in Sedona's immigrant community to launch an equitable engagement effort. Together, we developed civic academies to grow community leaders and increase public involvement. The community members identified linguistic and logistical barriers to participating in city planning processes. In response, I worked with the city to address those barriers and amplify the voices of marginalized residents. One early outcome was the creation of a home energy retrofit program, and these community partnerships now continue to address mobility, policing, entrepreneurship, and affordable housing. This opportunity is exciting for a number of reasons. I've worked in local government for over a decade. I've served under 6 different city councils and presented regularly on city planning, infrastructure projects, and land acquisitions. I've served on the city's Employee Advisory Committee, which is a fascinating place, by the way. And I've also served as staff liaison to 2 city commissions. I understand council meeting procedures, the city's budget process, bond initiatives, the limits of the city charter, and perspectives of city staff. My understanding of this organization would allow me to start serving without an extended learning curve. Having worked in sustainability and dealt with many legal constraints at the state level, I'm adept at navigating policy to identify solutions that work for our community. I have a strong understanding of key community priorities, like addressing the housing crisis and the climate crisis. Ensuring equitable community engagement has been the main focus of my career. As a former city staff member, I'm adept at navigating resources for residents and responding to constituent concerns. In addition to being an accessible resource for the Flagstaff community members, I would focus on strengthening relationships on council and throughout the community. This role would allow me the opportunity to use my skills and experience to have open and engaged conversations about the growing needs of our community and translate them into actionable policy. Thank you for your time and consideration, and good luck with this decision.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Yes, next applicant out of the hat.
Mayor, our next applicant is Eva Putsova.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I think you should disappoint Mackenzie. I think she's fantastic. Thank you, council members, for all you're doing. And I know it's not just sitting here every single week, preparing for meetings, attending all kinds of events, but I know that you're thinking about the issues all the time. Your work is all-consuming. This is not 20 hours or 40 hours. It's all the time. Many of you know me or know about me. You know that I was elected to the Flagstaff City Council in 2014 and served for years, so I know exactly what you're going through. However, I think you governing during the pandemic is something that none of us can even imagine what it is. Before I applied for this position, and I think it's a great opportunity to help city to get through the next 8 months, but I really was reflecting on, is there support for the kind of values and for my worldview? And obviously my previous council election was a while ago, but then I was thinking about my 2020 election, and I look at the data and realize that Flagstaff voters voted for me with the highest number of votes for any candidate from any party. In fact, the next highest vote getter received 30% fewer votes. For those of you who are not familiar with my professional background, I worked for 14 years at NAU in various positions, including as a director for strategic planning. I have master's from the University of Economics from Slovakia. And after I left NAU, I invested my professional skills in building labor movement. I work for Restaurant Opportunity Centers United, fighting to improve lives and wages and benefits for restaurant workers. And I returned to the organization after my congressional run concluded. I grew up in Slovakia, but I've been here since 2000, and actually I spent in Flagstaff more time than I spent in any other place in the world, and this is my home. One of the things that I feel is very important when you're serving public is to be transparent. And whether we agree or disagree, I think there's never question where I stand. I really believe that every single person deserves to live with dignity, and they deserve to have happy life. And I do think that one of the greatest challenges of our lives are connected to this quality of life, to this good life. And in addition to affordable housing, climate change is the issue that I do think that we have to really consider everything that we do through that lens. And as I explained in my answers to the written questions, I would consider that lens when we deliberate on different issues. We're going to be discussing my application in public in a few minutes, and so I'm sure you will have questions. And I really appreciate, again, you taking time, and I hope you will choose to consider all applications of applicants in public, because you can do it. You don't have to go to executive session. Thank you, and good luck with this decision.
Thank you, Ms. Putsova. Next applicant.
Mayor, our next applicant is James Willis.
All right, good afternoon, members of council, Mr. Mayor, fellow applicants. Thank you so much for considering me for this amazing opportunity. I'd like to start by just taking a little bit of time to tell you a little bit about myself and my Flagstaff story. So I moved to Flagstaff when I was 6 years old. Grew up over on the east side in the country club, went to Christensen Elementary School, East Flag Junior High, Sonawa High School, and then NAU. However, before I came here, both my parents also came from Flagstaff. And I had the kind of unique opportunity to grow up on, I won't say both sides of the tracks, but both sides of town. My mom's side of the town were developers and home builders in this town, and developed some neighborhoods such as Greenlaw, Cheshire, Fox Glen, University Heights. Quite a few houses in this town. So weekends with my mom's side of town, I spent time at Lake Powell on the houseboat, riding ATVs, playing golf. My dad's side of the town were educators here in town. My grandfather was the department head of the physics department at NAU. My grandma was a math teacher at West Flag Junior High. With that side of the family, I grew up floating rivers, spent my first night at Phantom Ranch when I was 7 years old, and I spent time going to the symphony. So I only bring that up because I really do feel like I represent a large part of this town. Now, like many people who grew up in Flagstaff, I left. As soon as I got out of school, I moved to places like Hawaii, New York, Tucson, Toledo, Ohio. But in between all of those moves, I always came back to Flagstaff. This has always been my home. Now, the last time I was here, I had the fortunate, got to meet my wife, Juliana. We met at a little bar called the Pay and Take right down the street. Moved away from here about 10 years ago, went to Toledo. She got her doctorate, and in the meantime, we had 2 lovely daughters. So about 3.5 years ago, we came back to Flagstaff. This is where we always wanted to end up. So we're back to stay. We want to be involved in the community, and we really want to have a voice in how we shape this community. Now, why am I seeking this position? Simple answer is I love Flagstaff. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the college. I love all the trails. I really love everything about this town. But more importantly, I really am seeking out this position because I want the future of Flagstaff to experience the same thing as I did. You know, my two daughters are 3 and 8. They're going to be here a long time, and I just want to make sure that they have every opportunity that I have and to be their very best. Now, I'm aware that Flagstaff has a lot of issues. I work in the mortgage industry here for Academy Mortgage, so I see every day how hard it is for people to afford a home in Flagstaff. We were also struck, straight in the face by climate change. We had a massive fire just days ago. Took out a ton of houses in this town. These are things that need to be addressed. We got problems with traffic, bike safety, you name it. I'm not here to tell you how I'm going to change this. What I'm here to say is, I want to make these changes. I pledge, if brought onto the council, I'll get to know each and every one of you. And, I know we share the same goals. We may have different approaches on how we get there, but we all want what's best for this town. I want to end by just telling you a quick story. When I was 10 years old, I came on a field trip in my 5th grade class right here to City Hall. Got to see this room, got to go upstairs, got to meet the mayor. The mayor at the time was a guy named Mayor Moody, and he was a plumber. And it just struck me that, this ordinary guy could be the leader of the community. And I feel so blessed that, that opportunity is before me now. And I really thank you all for this opportunity. Best.
Thank you. Next applicant.
Mayor, we have Charlie Odegaard.
Thank you.
A little nervous, a lot of emotion here. It was before COVID that we were here in office, and so greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, city staff that's here with us, and also on the screen also. It's good to see so many familiar faces. And it's good to see so many applicants that are here today wanting to fill this vacancy. As you, I'm sure we're all very disappointed that we only have 2 members that have chosen to run for city council. They got their signatures, that put their names on the ballots. One is Councilmember Aslan here, and also another resident here in Flagstaff. And I was discouraged, and I'm sure all you were discouraged too. But here we are with 14 applicants. Thank you. So I'm very hopeful that local governance is not dying like what I thought maybe just a few weeks ago. And so thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to come and see you in person. And why am I here today? Well, there's 5 council members, former council members that are here today. I just have that heart of service, just like the other 4 members that are here in this audience, that heart of service, giving back to their community. But I've been doing since, last public service since 2020. I put that in my little thing of what I've been doing since then for the last year or so. You see that I'm still serving our community. I got several board members here with me and from Theatricals. Al White, Joe Washington are here. And then also the Citizens Bond Committee. I'm hoping we'll see that wrapped up hopefully this Thursday, if not the next Thursday, the latest. Mr. White, who's the vice chair, I happen to be the chair of that committee right now. Joe Washington, who serves on that committee. So there's a lot of people that are here with their hearts of just wanting to serve their community. I put in my application, what are my 3 priorities? I didn't really list anything because, the term is short. We got 8 months. When you throw in summer break, really 6 months. There's some things that this council and previous councils have started that I'd like to see across the finish line. One is the youth committee. I'd like to see that. There was agenda item concerning council salaries that was brought up in 2019. Now, here 2022, we're starting to take a look at that issue. And so housing, maybe doing a redevelopment, it's maybe a potential bond question concerning city housing right now. As you know, that's real hard to mind. That was one of my first things I ever had talked to a former city manager about, is doing a redevelopment of city housing here in Flagstaff. After I, campaigned in 2016 to see Seiler and Clark, Holmes and others, and see how they're not in best shape, and so they're not serving that many residents that we would like to see. And so I'd like to see some of those things and help you guys get those things done for our community. As you all know, I'm a very hard worker. I get along with everybody. I talk to everybody. And I miss everybody, to be honest. It was probably the highlight of my life, serving as 4 years on the city council. So with that, I don't want to get any more emotional. I wish you well in this selection process, and I wish everybody well. And whatever is best, that person will do well for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Odegaard.
Mayor, we have Samantha Stone.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, it's so great to see you all. I'm really excited to be here. I'm super excited about the applicants that we've already heard from and the folks that are still to come. I think, I'm going to echo what Charlie said and say that it is really fantastic to see so many folks throwing their hat in the ring for this. And I'm honored to be here today to do that as well. I think that I've met most of you at one time or another. The last time I was at this podium, I was working with Senator McSally. Came and introduced myself to you at that point. And then a couple of you I've known for a very long time. So I'm happy to see you all. For those of you I don't know well, a little bit of background on me. Like I said, my name is Samantha Stone. I'm a single mother. I've lived in Flagstaff for 34 years. My family moved here when I was a small child to open a business, and I've kept Flagstaff as my home base for the rest of all those other years. I went to Knowles, and then I went to MIMS just after they had the big debate over potentially calling it PMS Middle School, which I'm really glad they didn't do. Then I went to Sanawa for high school when it was still a high school. So I've been around for a while, right? I have a 12-year-old kiddo who currently goes to Sanawa as a middle school. Let me tell you, dropping her off at school every morning is a little weird, but I like it. I've got a wonderful partner who is also local, works out at Purina, and I have 3 rescue dogs. So that's kind of my personal life in a nutshell. The things that we love to do on our free time, we love to go hiking, we love to do puzzles, we love to go to Disneyland. I'm going for the 3rd time in the past 6 months and a couple weeks. I'm very excited. And recently we've been binging RuPaul's Drag Race, all 14 seasons. I don't know if you guys have checked it out, but you should. All right, so we will get to the more important part of this. I'm going to try to keep it from sounding like I'm reading my resume, but my experience. So I know you all have the resume, and I won't go too in depth, but I got involved with politics, organizing locally with social justice organizations way back in the early 2000s. I have a degree in political science and psychology from NAU. I started my career in policy, working as a legislative intern with the Arizona State Supreme Court through the legislative internship program, and worked with the state legislature, obviously. My focus for that semester that I was down there was on immigration, budget, and family law. Super interesting experience. So glad the university is through that program. It's amazing. After that, I worked as a lobbyist from 2012 to 2019 with the Wallapai tribe, handled all of their federal issues, but primarily focused on the Wallapai water settlement. The first phase of the water settlement was passed through Congress in December of 2014 and signed by Barack Obama, and I'm currently working with them again on the second phase of the water settlement. Should be going through in the next few months, fingers crossed. From 2019 to 2020, through 2020 until the elections, I was recruited by Senator McSally to come work on her Indigenous policy portfolio. So I became the Northern Arizona and Indigenous Outreach Affairs Coordinator. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but in that position, I worked with all 6 Northern Arizona counties and all 22 Arizona-based tribes. It was a little different than we were expecting. Obviously, everyone's years were a little different. I went in looking at kind of overhauling the way that the congressional delegation dealt with indigenous water settlements, and then we all pivoted towards COVID, as you all know. During that time, I had the honor, like I said, of working with all of the Northern Arizona counties and all 22 tribes on COVID preparation and response, which was a pretty incredible opportunity. While with the senator, I focused on natural resources, rural development, public lands, indigenous affairs, and again, like I said, COVID, because that's what we were all doing, right? Currently, like I said, working with the tribe again to advance the 2nd phase of their water settlement through Congress, and just started a position with Victim Witness Services here in Flagstaff as a sexual assault response coordinator. Long resume, lots of experience in policy. The basic sum of all of this is that I love Flagstaff. I'm super committed to this community. I am super committed to advancing social justice, and I believe that I have the policy experience and expertise as well as the relationships at other levels of government to help advance the fantastic priorities that you all have already set forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Next applicant.
Mayor, we have Kara House.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Deasy, Vice Mayor Sweet, and all council members for the opportunity to speak before you today. It's my honor and privilege to join the other applicants, among whose ranks I am truly humbled to find myself in our shared desire to serve our community. The number one question I've been asked in considering applying for this council appointment has been, what do you want? And I'm not always sure what's behind that question, but my answer has always been the same: to serve. I believe in the power and importance of civic engagement, and even more so in the power and importance of bringing a full spectrum of community voices to the table. It has been my privilege to engage with many community groups and organizations as partners in this service. And the one consistency I have found among them has been the love of this community and a shared desire to see it thrive. I used to say it was my desire to give voice to the voiceless, and while I believe the heart of that desire has always been well-intended, I think now it has been misspoken. The true heart of this desire has been and remains to consistently recognize the diverse voices in our community, to recognize that while many have gone unheard, they still have invaluable voices of their own, and to find ways to invite them all to the table when it comes to making decisions that will shape the future of Flagstaff. I came to Flagstaff to pursue my master's degree at NAU what seems like a lifetime ago. I soon learned that Flagstaff is an education unto itself. What I've learned has rooted me in this beautiful community of diverse neighbors and neighborhoods that are all, I believe, pursuing what Dr. King called beloved community, a community built upon the principles of justice, collective action for the common good, and equitable access to all those things upon which true communities thrive. This is what forms the foundation of my passion to serve Flagstaff, be it through pursuit of equitable access to housing, climate justice and the sustaining of our natural resources, access to and advocacy for mental and behavioral health care, and the many concerns within our community that set my heart ablaze. In the time I have left, I'd like to share a little of what's on my heart for this opportunity. First, it should be no surprise that with a last name like House, housing is among the topmost issues on my mind. I'm proud of the work I've done on the city's Housing Commission, including the adoption of the 10-year housing plan, and hope to continue that service through engaging in important conversations and considerations that will enable the development of and deepened partnerships for affordable housing, including looking at how to bring all and expanded housing types to all neighborhoods, and how we can decrease the current barriers to affordable housing development in our community. Second, while recognizing housing as healthcare, I also recognize that housing is just one of the many essential resources needed in our community, and hope to pursue expanded resources for mental and behavioral health, as well as examining how neighborhoods are impacted by a lack of community space and other resources that determine health and well-being. I want to be a partner for sustainable efforts in the pursuit of climate-conscious development, while also engaging in conversations about how each effort impacts and affects the other important pursuits of our community, and consider how we might responsibly pursue these interests without sacrificing one good thing for another. And finally, as noted on my application, I hope to engage in deeper empowerment and engagement of our unique neighborhoods, each of which brings their own cultures, heritage, and identities to collectively define the character of Flagstaff, and none of which should go unseen or unrecognized in Flagstaff's ever-developing story. To bring things full circle, though the question often posed to me is, what do I want? To me, the true question is, what can I give? And for me, the answer is, and always will be, a little bit more. I hope this appointment can be a little bit more in my service to Flagstaff. I thank you and our Flagstaff community and all those who have applied for this position for this and every opportunity to give and serve a little bit more for the benefit of all the people who call this community home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. House. Next applicant.
Mayor, we have Lena Wallen.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. It's nice to be here and see familiar face. As you know, my name is Lena Wallen. I live in 3716 Grandview Drive. And first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak regarding my application for the City Council. I give a lot of thought prior to submitting the application. I know it's really time commitment and also has to be open-minded. I live in Flagstaff for 30 years, in which I feel so blessed and grateful to Flagstaff community who are open and welcome me as a family. In my endeavor in life, I learned a lot, not only from working. As you know, I worked for Housing Authority for 16 years, so I know that segment of community. And also, I learned a lot from volunteering. The second week, I arrived in Flagstaff, which really just a long time ago. I volunteered for court-appointed special advocate, which actually that volunteering for the children, dependency children, and with the goal is the best interest for the children. That with that volunteering, it opens up to all aspects in children's life, from school, court system, outdoor activities, medical world, family and cultures in every race in this community. I experienced a lot of support to do my volunteer work that make it easier to achieve the goal of best interest for the children. I know today, it's like with the all applicant, I really just so proud with this community because all want to serve this community, and I thank you for all. I will illustrate some example for what my volunteering with children's. Once I had a CASA child who needed a dental work, and at that time, the name is not Department of Child Safety, but Child Protective Service. And they said they could not provide the service due to the limitation of funding. I called one dentist in town asking for help. Without hesitation or without a pause, he answered, "Bring him right away. I will make time for him." I'm so proud of that. I will illustrate another example in terms of court and law. Another child who needed really psych digestion evaluation. Again, DCS could not find the funding. As a CASA volunteer at the time, I asked the CASA coordinator to file a motion. Her answer is, never in my experience, CASA could file a motion to the court. And I said, well, I talked to the caseworker, and I talked to the child attorney, and they could not help. And I said, I want to do this. So I asked one attorney in town, and without hesitation again, it's like, Lena, I will help you with the wording. You have to pursue this. I think that's the first CASA motion in Coconino Court, Coconino Superior Court at that time. So another example that I will give you, I did volunteer for the tunnel fire from 6 p.m. to midnight. There was a lady, the night is really very cold, if you could imagine. Around 10 o'clock, there's a lady that's with the small car, really, drive around and offer coffee to all the volunteers. And that's really dedication for our community. As you know, that I was granted as Citizen of the Year long time ago. I'm very humble for that. But the matter in fact is, Flagstaff community who deserve that award, not me. Without that help from community, I cannot do anything. Without everybody helps, nothing can make it happen. I'm only the instrument to connect the necessary parts of this community. Of course, there are
Thank you, Ms. Wallen. I'd like you to continue to finish what you were saying.
I am applying for this position because I have seen the growth within the city and knowing and learning about Flagstaff community. Hopefully I can be one of the voice of Flagstaff resident. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I can be considered to be that voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallen.
Mayor, our next applicant is Chris Burrell.
I feel like I need to catch up on RuPaul's Drag Race now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Verrill. Before I tell you about me and why I've applied for this interim vacancy, I too would like to thank the fellow 13 applicants who are here to commit their time, their talent, and passion to the city. Thank you all very much. You have a wealth of applicants in front of you. Unfortunately, that's unlike what the voters are going to get on the ballot coming up, and I'll come back to that point. Most of you know me as a theater director. That's not why I'm here. I served on the city's tourism commission. I'm a strong advocate for increasing tourism here in Flagstaff. Tourism was crushed nationwide in the pandemic, but not as much in Flagstaff, in part because we're a drive market, but also because of the good work of Discover Flagstaff and economic development and economic vitality, and it was my pleasure to play a very small part in that. I'm a member of NALA, the Northern Arizona Leadership Alliance, and the Rotary Club of Flagstaff, both of which are non-political organizations, but both of which are committed to making sure our city is a better place to be. I'm a graduate of the Flagstaff Leadership Program, Quarantine Kids. Lastly, I'm the chairperson of the city's new Dark Sky Arts and Ideas Festival. That's a working title, may not be the name. But what we've done is we have built a collaboration of pretty much all the major arts organizations in town to do two things. One, to drive the arts, but two, to use the arts to drive the economy of Flagstaff, which I think is very important. An opportunity for us to raise all boats. So why do I want this interim vacancy? First of all, let me say that I am not running for the open seat, at least not in 2022. My passion is good governance. Now, that might sound really boring, and maybe it is, but I am very committed to good governance because I think it's crucial to making sure that the city runs well. It's crucial to a functioning democracy. And that means looking at all sides of an issue, not just paying attention to the squeakiest wheels. It means planning for the future and not just what are we going to do next year, but what do we do the next decade and the next generation? It means affirming or modifying our goals in our strategic plans. And it's not really good management, it's good governance. And there's a difference. As an appointed member of this council, I will have not been elected by the people of Flagstaff. I will be a transitionary figure from an elected vice mayor to a newly elected council member. My goal is not to rock the boat. My goal is to continue to make sure that we have a moderate voice looking on all sides of the issue. So I said I'd get back to our election problem. We all know that we have 4 vacancies and 2 candidates on the ballot, and that our election is going to be complicated by a write-in system. We have enough perceived problems with our elections in this country without Flagstaff, a small little town in northern Arizona, adding to them. So I think we need to be as transparent as we can in solving that problem. I know the city has a task force targeted with solving that problem and addressing it. If I'm appointed, I would like to serve on that. Frankly, if I'm not appointed, I would still like to serve on that. And I think that is one of the ways that I can get involved. I know this is a big responsibility, a responsibility I would take very, very seriously. And my promise, not just to the 6 of you, but more importantly to the people of Flagstaff, is to serve the city with all my heart and with their interests at heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reel. Next applicant.
Mayor, we have Joe Washington.
Sorry, I just wanted to check there was a question if we are streaming, just to make sure.
Yes, Mayor, we are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Washington.
Community involvement, consensus building, mutual respect, engaging our community, practical solutions, not ideology. These are values that have been expressed by this city council. I share these values and I want to be a part of the team. To tell you a little bit about myself, I came to Flagstaff in 1976. I was 25 years old, and I was hired to be the executive director of Native Americans for Community Action, which was a lot smaller in those days. Now it's a very large and influential organization in town. And in the course of being the executive director, even though a young guy, I had to, I was often consulted for matters relating to indigenous people and in various kinds of capacities, what was called Northern Arizona Council of Governments. I was on their personnel committee and was learning a lot about being on boards and so on like that. And so I learned a lot when I was young. In 1982, I was appointed to be a judge for the city of Flagstaff by the Flagstaff City Council. And I was a judge from 1982 to 1989. And I have been a judge in several capacities. I have also since been a judge for Indian tribes. I was a contract judge for the Havasupai tribe. And I want to tell you about one time when I inadvertently hiked the Havasupai Trail. My wife, a long time ago, I met her here in Flagstaff. She was working on NAU, working for NAU at that time. And her sociology class went to Supai. And she had this banner called, "I Hiked the Havasupai Trail." And she gave me this, this bandana. And I had it, even though I hadn't hiked the Havasupai Trail. I did one time inadvertently. When I was a judge there, they do their court on weekends. And I was conducting court, and I had several cases. And although I would often ride in on horseback, I would fly out by helicopter. And the helicopter driver, the helicopter pilot, was anxious to go to or watch the Super Bowl. and he left without me. And I had to work the next Monday, and I had to get back out of the canyon. And so for the first time, I hiked out of the canyon and hiked the Havasupai Trail. It was difficult for me because I hadn't really done that kind of a long hike before. It was huffing and puffing, and towards the end it was dark. And I didn't know how far I was from the top, and I sat down and rested for a while, quite a while, 15, 30 minutes. And then I went back at it, and it turns out I was just around the corner and there was a top. But I made it out. I inadvertently hiked the Havasupai Trail. Being a judge, in 1989, I resigned as a judge to run for the Flagstaff City Council. I was elected in 1990, and I was on the city council for 4 years. I continue to be engaged with the city. You know that I am co-chair of the Indigenous Committee, along with Cora Max Phillips, and I'm on the Citizens Bond Committee. I'm engaged also with organizations like Dreams, which is an organization which gives scholarships to children who graduate from Flagstaff high schools and help them through those scholarships to fulfill their potential, and very proud of that. I have been involved in mediation, and I do mediation for Coconino County Superior Court, and that has been my focus in trying to find these win-win situations. There's a concept of ethical negotiation that I practice in law, and the idea is to basically work for the win-win situation, and that's my approach. And I would love the opportunity to work with this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Mayor, our next applicant is Alethea Carlin. I hope I pronounced that right.
My name is Alethea Carlin. My friends call me Thea, and I encourage you guys to also call me Thea. I want to thank you all for inviting all of us here today. I also want to thank all the other applicants for applying to help the city of Flagstaff. I was born and raised in Flagstaff. I don't come from a wealthy family. My father was a teacher with FUSD, and my mom stayed at home with us. I don't have a wealthy family now, but we get by. I'm an average citizen. I'm a mom of 2 young children who attend the same elementary school I did as a child. My son is 9 and autistic. My daughter is 6 and graduating kindergarten, which is a really big deal. Enforcement at the Coconino County Jail as an officer. I have worked in community mental health at the Guidance Center. I have worked with a diverse population and can appreciate and understand differing points of view. I will never claim to know what someone else is going through as they struggle living in Flagstaff, but I can empathize, and they will always have my ear. I have a degree in psychology and a zest for doing anything I can to help out anyone. And I'm in love with my hometown. I live and breathe for Flagstaff, for the majestic mountains, the bountiful ponderosas, the monsoons, our incredible snowfall when we have it. I run, I hike, I mountain bike. There is no place on earth I would rather be. When I told my best friend that I was applying for this position and to be a write-in candidate, she replied, "You care more about Flagstaff than anyone else I know. I will never claim to care about Flagstaff more than anyone else, but I love it with all of my heart." I have witnessed a sad disengagement, disgruntlement, and distrust with local politics. And I can appreciate how hard this job is, the limitations you guys all have, and how challenging it can be to engage the local citizens in politics. I have witnessed you, our current city council, being as open and approachable as possible, and I appreciate that. Sometimes, as a Flagstaff native, it feels as if outsiders are running my hometown, and I would love to change that perception. Flagstaff representing Flagstaff. I would love to be a voice for all citizens. I would actively seek out the majority opinion and vote on my neighbor's behalf. I would work hard to make Flagstaff feel seen and heard, in addition to working cooperatively with all of you, with all the city employees, with all the agencies that we would work with together. Everyone I work with matters to me, no matter what job I have. I want you all to feel heard and cared about, because I will listen and I will always care. No matter, listening, empathizing, and respect are values that I hold dear. I understand that no candidate can please all voters. However, I will work hard to gain the trust of the majority of Flagstaff. I'm not a politician. I don't have a political career to lean on for this position, nor any aspirations to climb any higher. But I have my heart. I have my desire to see my hometown shine. I have a desire to see my fellow citizens feel confident that I will always have their best interest in heart. I have a desire for a better Flagstaff. I hope to never truly be a politician. I always want to be just a regular citizen, standing up for what's right and giving a voice to other people. I want to thank you all again for inviting us here. And to the other applicants, please know how much I really appreciate your willingness to stand up for my hometown. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Carlin.
Mayor, we have John McCulloch.
Mayor, council members. Joe Washington didn't mention that he's an actor. He's a great actor, too. I happened to see him in a movie. I don't know why you didn't mention that, Joe. Joe and I were on the council together in 1990. We both got elected together. And he sat in your chair, and I sat in yours, Ashton. I wanted just to start, you know, it was a beautiful evening in on July 3rd, 1983, when I rolled my car into town. I was coming here to record my Greatest Hits Volume 1 with old musicians that I had met here in the 70s. And my friend had set up an apartment over at 209 East Dale. I now live almost across the street. But that evening I came down and had a fresh bowl of homemade split pea soup and a loaf of fresh bread and a beer down at Charlie's. And then a band was playing and I got to hear some live music. And as I walked home and you smelled the fresh rain from the brand new monsoon season, my heart told me I was home. I'd been traveling back and forth and around the country playing music, but that's when I knew this was my home. And the other thing that really settled in was if I went to Charlie's and I sat at the corner of the bar, there would be four of us sharing a pitcher of beer. But it might be a neurosurgeon and then a sanitation truck driver, a carpenter, and me. Because friendships were built upon common interests. And that holds true today, I think, and most of my friends are friends that I made that way a long time ago. And that's what I don't see, that's what I never want to see change really here in Flagstaff. The social strata was very thin. Now, I came from Princeton, where Princeton University is. I think that's good in the sense of my relationship has an experience of a community university town. They called it Communiversity. And there's a lot of similarities that I think I bring to the table of understanding what happened in Princeton and then the community and the rest. But the social strata was very thin. Coming from a place like that, the first question out of your mouth in New York and the Northeast is, hey, what do you do for a living? Right? They want to know if it's worth my time to socialize and get to, network with you. No, it was, hey, where are you from? What do you like to do? And that to me is why, whatever perspective I would make a decision about, that's what's in the back of my mind of how I approach some of the things that I want to hold on to dearly. It's not always the physical aspect of a building here or something there. It's about how we're treating the people. That's number one. Number two, or three, my wife and I own the Motel du Beau. We've owned it since 2000. We own the Grand Canyon Hostel, which we leased out of the Downtowner Motel, starting in '97. That got shut down with COVID. Not many people want to stay in a room with international travelers in a bunk bed with COVID flying. And we've yet to reconstitute that back, although we are looking for another location. But we learned in the Motel du Beau, we were very, very proud to find out, number one, it's the oldest continually operating motel in America. But also, we were visited by a Candace C. Taylor who had a grant, and she was writing the story of the Green Book. And the Motel du Beau was part of that history. And fascinated us. I was in tears. But we still get many people of color simply traveling to stay at the Motel du Beau to experience what that was like in the 30s and 40s and that kind of, place to be. So those are my perspectives. I have a lot of other issues. If you read my comments, I think it's more important to be a judge. Your budget, you did even Thursday and Friday last week. That part is done. That's what you're defining that you want to do for the next year. My job is to get out of your way, but know well enough how to do it and do it well. I did look on the website for the city that, on the city and council, at the bottom of the page was the Flagstaff Trust that Coral Evans had put together and participated in one of them with the mayors and vice mayors. And I think, Adam, you had even made the comment that, it takes time to get up to speed with some of these issues. Like some of the other former council members, I'm up to speed. And my job is to just be able to stay with you right away and get on with certain issues and get me through to the next round, and we have more time to interview and answer other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Al White is next.
Excellent. Press the button, I think it is, there you go. It's red.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Al White. I live at 4385 East Winter and have since 1989. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to try to help a seamless transition to a full council until the next election. I think experience matters, especially the specific experience that comes with 12 years of actually doing the job. When I was on the council, I served on the Tourism Commission. I was the council liaison to the very first Sustainability Commission. The inclusion, I guess you call it inclusion and diversity now. It was the Disability Awareness Commission in my day, and the Greater Flagstaff Economic Council, which is now, I guess, ECONA. I've always been community-minded. Before my time on council, I advised the Public Works what the citywide recycling program should look like, and worked for accessibility for people with disabilities. After my council years, I served on the Flagstaff Housing Authority and was successful in putting together a suggestion for a program that would have created some affordable units. Currently, I'm serving on the Bond Advisory Committee, so I'll have some knowledge to bring for the upcoming discussions as they happen here soon. I also serve on 2 nonprofit board of directors, Quality Connections and Theatricos. When I broke my back at my recycling company 25 years ago, this community stepped up and helped me to survive while awaiting disability insurance and later Medicare. That scenario is repeated in Flagstaff on a regular basis. And ever since that time, I've felt a very strong obligation, but desire to give back. All my activities at this point in time are mission-driven. If you look at my skills on the resume, I think you'll agree that they are the skills that are necessary to succeed in representing the people and the best community interests of Flagstaff. At the recent budget retreat, I got to see Team Flagstaff in action. What was very impressive was how the staff was genuinely happy for each other's success. I thought that was wonderful. I think that's the formula for progress. I have some ideas for different approaches to problems we've faced and have faced for a bit, and would like to get them on the agenda for discussion. I would like to encourage future planning for growth. And in essence, in closing, I want you to know that I've adopted the political philosophy of the turtle. And that is, I'm hard on the outside, I'm soft on the inside, but I'm willing to stick my neck out. I hope you'll invite me to join you, and I wish you luck with the job of picking from so many great candidates. You really have, you really can't go wrong, I don't think. So thank you for the consideration, and I look forward to talking further.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Mayor, our next applicant is Jacqueline Kellogg.
Good afternoon, Mayor, DC, and Council. Public speaking is not my forte, so I'm going to try not to pass out and keep this brief. My name is Jackie Kellogg. I'm the owner, designated broker of West USA Realty Flagstaff. I have been a resident of Flagstaff since 1995. I moved here with my young family. At that time, we couldn't get a rental home because of poor credit, high prices, and lack of availability. We really struggled and ended up living in the KOA with other families in a similar situation. Fast forward to 2022, I am now a small business owner and a homeowner. I volunteer in my community in many areas, including community service, charity, child advocacy, housing, and politics. I have served on the Northern Arizona Association of Realtors Board of Directors, as well as 2014 president. I also served at the state level for the Arizona Association of Realtors Professional and Business Development Committee, Risk Management, and Forms. I served 6 years on the Greater Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and currently serve on the City of Flagstaff Housing Commission, Northern Arizona Association of Realtors Advocacy Commission, and Government Affairs Committee. The Flagstaff Women's Leadership Network, the Flagstaff Exchange Club, and Child Help International Flagstaff chapter advocating for abused, neglected, and at-risk youth. I am interested in serving on the Flagstaff City Council because I feel I have the community experience, knowledge, and willingness to dedicate my time and expertise to the current needs and concerns of our community. I have experienced the housing crisis firsthand, and as a real estate broker, I feel I bring a certain set of skills and knowledge that can be helpful in addressing our current situation regarding affordable and attainable housing within our community and the surrounding areas. I look forward to the opportunity to work with council to address these concerns and develop opportunities and provide assistance in developing strategies to preserve our way of life for our current citizens and future growth of Flagstaff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kellogg.
All right, Mayor, our last applicant is Josh Stackhouse.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, thanks for letting me come down here today. I'll keep this brief. I think I can bring some balance to the 6 months that I would be serving. Part of the balance would start with diversity. My mom actually purposely sent me at a very young age to basically from first grade to 12th grade. I spent at an urban inner city school in Denver, Colorado. She looked at me and said, being able to understand and be around people that are diverse is going to be very, very important in your life, and that is something that has found me a lot of success. I've been a business owner in Flagstaff for over 10 years. My wife and I, we started a new business right in the middle of, right before coronavirus hit. That was extremely challenging. I want to be an advocate for small business in town. I'd like to, sorry. We'll never bring back the small business as it was in the middle of the last century, but I'd like to try to reconnect with that as best we can. Let's see. I noted in my questionnaire that part of my leadership style is through servant leadership. I spent time in the Verde Valley Leadership School, and one of the things that was very important to them was knowing when to lead and knowing when to support your fellow leaders. That's something that I have found great success with in my life. As I said, I'm going to try to keep it brief. Thank you very much for all your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Stackhouse. All right, well, thank you. Do we have any public participants for this section at all?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, well, then we are down to agenda item number 5, which is the general public participation. Do we have anyone for that?
Nope.
Thank you. Well, then that brings us down to agenda item number 6, which is the discussion of Eva Putzova's qualifications and application materials. As the one applicant that has requested to have the public discussion and full transparency of discussion with council. So with that, I would like to open it up to the council for deliberation and discussion, as we will need to determine in this agenda item whether Ms. Putzova moves forward as a applicant or as a on the short list for Thursday's discussion. So just so you know, we do need to narrow this down and see if Ms. Putzova moves forward or not. So with that note, I would like to open it up. I certainly have comments, but would like to open it up to the rest of council. Councilmember Eslin.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to state that it's very clear to me that Eva Putzova is fully qualified for this position. I wanted to maybe use this moment just to sneak in a word or two to all the applicants before folks start leaving. And that's just a general comment to say that I too am extremely encouraged by what we're seeing here today. And in terms of just the number of you who are stepping forward and the quality that you're all showing. I don't want to be too self-deprecating here, but in all seriousness, I think all 6 of us could step down and be replaced by any 7 of you, and our city would continue to move forward in great hands and under great leadership. So thank you all very much for stepping forward and doing what you're doing. I'll leave my comments there for the moment. I do think Eva is very qualified for this role. Given the incredible amount of diversity of applicants that we see here, and I mean that in every conceivable way, it's quite possible from my perspective that she doesn't rise. I don't know what the threshold is in terms of narrowing things down. There's just such a wealth of talent out here that I wouldn't presuppose bringing someone who was very recently on council back into the fold. But I will very much state publicly that she brings a strong case to the table when she, just by being someone who was recently on council and knows the ropes, so to speak, and can jump right into the role and understands the values that we're trying to carry forward and the task ahead of us before the next election for some of these issues and how they're funded. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Eslin. Yes, Councilmember.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, just a procedural question, perhaps to our city attorney or city clerk. Does it mean that Ms. Putzova will not be interviewed by council?
Mayor and Council, the request from Ms. Putzova was to have her application discussed here in the open meeting. There has not been an interview scheduled yet. If there was, she would have the opportunity to determine whether or not she wanted to be interviewed in public. at that time, if the council moved to interview her to begin with.
Thank you. Could we get a little bit of a recap for the public's purpose, or just explaining what the process we determined, so that way we're all on the same page here?
Of course. Thank you, Mayor. Again, Stacy Salzberg, City Clerk. So the process tonight, we've heard from all of our applicants. They've provided an introduction, why they want to serve on council, and what they may bring to that position. So at this point, it is up to you to determine who will be moving forward to the next step in the process. That next step is a formal interview in a public meeting this coming Thursday, in a special work session just like this, following which there would be another executive session to ultimately deliberate further as a council and bring forward a recommendation for appointment.
Thank you, Ms. Salzberg.
Well, we don't even know how many we're going to forward for an interview, do we? Is that entirely determined?
No, there's no
Yeah.
determination. We could put all
So-
14 towards
Yeah,
the
exactly.
interview process if we so
Theoretically,
desire.
we could advance everybody. That might be the first threshold we need to figure out, or maybe it's a byproduct of the consensus we have on who should be moving forward or not. But yeah, this feels a little bit like putting the cart before the horse to be discussing this application without the benefit of hindsight and how the interview process went for all 14 candidates. I'm happy to move forward. I just wanted to register that frustration.
Thank you. Well, I want, city attorney to chime in, because there are legal aspects of this we need to definitely be respecting, so.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, Ms. Putzova's request was for this application, and obviously any discussion related to that to occur here in public session. Therefore, you would need to determine whether to advance her to the interview process or not. Here in the open meeting, you would not be able to discuss Ms. Putzova or her qualifications or application in the executive session at all.
Thank you, and I just want to make it clear also to the public that all applicants' resumes and questionnaires are available publicly on the agenda on our website. That our intent was to have a deliberation later this evening after we heard everyone, and that the interview process would occur on Thursday, where we will be able to ask more direct questions of a shorter list of individuals that we would be determining this evening. So I just want everyone to know that, this is a transparent process. We want everyone to know the information. We may have a deliberation this evening in an executive session to create that short list, but the interview process will be completely public. That deliberation will be completely public thereafter. It is only this little piece of the process this evening to create that short list that we're having some conversations about outside of this public session. I respect Ms. Putzova for bringing it forward to have this public deliberation. I very much respect that fact. And legally, we do need to be discussing this publicly and determining if Ms. Putzova specifically will be moving onto that Thursday meeting for further interviews that are public, and that all public deliberation thereafter will be discussed in an open forum. Councilmember Shimoni.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Asin, for your comments so far. Before I jump in, though, I do also want to acknowledge all the great applicants that have stepped forward. We have an engaged community, and we have amazing people living in this town, and I'm just so grateful to hear all of you come forward and share why you want to come up here for a few months with us and create some good trouble. It's a lot of fun. This work's a lot of fun, and I'm also ready to take a break. But good luck. No, I'm just kidding. I really do appreciate you all, and given the upcoming election struggles, it's a really good sign. But to Councilmember Asin's point about the cart before the horse, I do wonder, Council, I think that's maybe where we should start, is what is the narrowing down? I thought I had 6 in my mind for some reason, but I don't know how it got there. But I guess that would be the first step, because talking about Eva right now and trying to determine whether or not we want to see another interview. It's tricky without kind of, talking about what our top 6 or whatever number it is and where Eva fits in that. So maybe that's step 1, is to figure out what number we're trying to narrow this group down to.
Yes, thank you. We had not set that number specifically. We're going to leave it a little bit more open with the, whomever applicants come forward. Obviously, we need to make a qualitative assessment of that. As any, job opening occurs, you don't necessarily say there's only going to be 2 into the final pool. I will just say that one of the thoughts that I had, if council members were open to it, was during our deliberation this evening, that we would be putting forth 5 individuals that we would like to see on the short list, each individually, tally that up to cut that number and see potentially 5, but if, for example, there was a tie, that there might be 6 places, for example. And therefore, we would all be heard, all of us 6 council members, to see who we think should be on the short list and then have additional deliberation thereafter. That was my intent for our discussion this evening, but again, that is up to council majority decision-making. We do need to limit the pool somehow, but again, this evening and before we go into executive session, we do need to determine if Ms. Putsova is going to move forward into that second phase. And that does have to be done. This is a matter of legalities. This isn't a matter of let's step back and try to figure things out and discuss an executive session beforehand. No, we have to do this deliberately and specifically for Ms. Putsova. Councilmember Shimoni.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm fine with 5, or I guess whatever number we end on. But I just wanted to say, this is a really interesting opportunity we have, both for those who are applying for the seat and then for us as a council, just given that it's this temporary spot that, we have a lot of wheels in motion. What are they really going to be able to accomplish, in their short time, which, even Eva spoke about, there's a short period of time, what can one really achieve? But it is a really interesting opportunity to give someone of this group a chance to experience and lead and serve in this capacity. So that all being said, Vice Mayor Daggett, former Vice Mayor Daggett, was a huge pillar on this council. And she was a pillar in sustainability, in housing, inclusion. She was a great communicator. She brought people together, and she was a good collaborator. So those were all things I personally leaned on her for and appreciate about her on council. And I just want us to be aware of, the vacancy that she leaves when we think about these candidates. Just wanted to put that out there for food for thought for the council as we're thinking about this.
Thank you, Councilmember Shimoni. Vice Mayor.
I do want to do a quick thank you to everyone that is here today and took the time to go through the application process. I have every faith that we could put any of you in this spot and you would do a fantastic job. I struggle a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. I see value in having someone jump in who has experience to help us steer this ship. But I also truly value new voices and new vision and new thoughts. So I'm not convinced one way or another. I want to keep that door open. And I do see value in both. And I see a lot of faces that I recognize from all of my involvement in the community, but I also see fresh faces that may have something new to offer. Those are my thoughts right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any others? And I'm happy to give my commentary as well. Councilmember Salas.
I want to provide I want to provide the opportunity for everyone to be interviewed. Yes, it will take more time for us and council to convene. But I would propose to provide everyone the opportunity to be interviewed.
Thank you, Councilmember Salas. Councilmember McCarthy.
I think we'll make that decision about how many we're going to interview in executive session. I'm thinking that something on the order of 5.
Councilmember
Well,
Esler.
yeah, can I
Mayor
weigh
and
in here?
council,
Thanks.
if I might, just to clarify for the council and for the public, decisions are not made in executive session. Actions, I mean, from a legal perspective, but direction is given to staff as to who to contact to interview. Just wanted to make sure that was clear for the record.
Thank you, Sterling. So I'm not prepared at this time to narrow the field down to 5 before even hearing interviews. I really would like to hear from at least more than 5 of these candidates. I will tell you that for sure. I don't know if we need to open it up to all 14. I think we might be able to be a little bit more efficient than that. But somewhere between more than 5 and 14 seems appropriate to me. And I will tell you right now that I will not preclude Ms. Putsova from being seated on this council without hearing her interviews. So my vote is on those grounds alone to forward her application to the interview process. And if that requires all other 13 candidates to be forwarded as well, then that's fine by me. But that's where my line is.
Thank you, Councilmember Aslan. Councilmember Shimoni.
Well, this is really tough because it's like if we're gonna forward 10, then yes, I would totally support Ms. Pusova being forwarded. But if we do end up forwarding 5, which I hear and I support that, but as a body, if we come up with 5, Ms. Pusova doesn't make that short list of mine personally. But I know that we're trying to figure this out now. So again, I think we need to figure out how many we're going to narrow it down to maybe before we decide on Ms. Pusova's application. Does that make sense to do?
Well, that will be up to majority decision on council. I am not in favor of a select number. Again, my favorite method would have been to all of us list 5 people, not in any rank order, but all of us have 5 considerations, and then we bring that to the table, look at what the tally looks like from there, and see who amongst all of the applicants, reaches 2 tallies, reaches 3 tallies from all of us. So that way it does narrow down the list and based on our individual decision-making. And I mean, that could be 4 individuals, that could be 7, 8 individuals. And that's kind of the issue we're facing right now. The fact, though, is that we do have to decide right now if Ms. Putsova will be moving on to the short list for interviews. So that is, City Attorney, I saw your hand, so.
Yes, Mayor and Council, and just as a reminder, the agenda item is discussion of Eva Putsova's qualifications and application materials. That really is the decision that you would be making here, is whether to move Ms. Putsova on or advance Ms. Putsova on to that process.
So let's get back to the agenda item, which is specifically discussion of Eva Putsova's qualification and application materials, as opposed to this general, larger perspective. It could be 5 people who move on, could be 7, could be 8, could be 14. But the fact is that do Eva Putsova's qualifications and application materials lead us to want to interview her again on Thursday? That's really what this decision is on the agenda. Councilmember Shimoni.
Thank you, Mayor. Then I'd say yes. I think we should. Thank you.
Thank you. I will speak my mind on this subject. One of the most important factors of this decision-making is if all 14 applicants were running for one position, who would the public support? more important than where we sit at our personal political value realm or priorities, more so than any relationships, anything else. It's a matter of, would the public support this? I will note that in 2012, when we had this situation previously happen, that the candidate that was chosen lost the last election, or the election thereafter, and got last place. And that was a mark against, I feel, the council's decision. And that's going to be an important factor as we move forward. With that in mind, as one of the primary factors for me in consideration, Ms. Putsova got second place when she ran for city council. When she ran for Congress, and though that was a Democratic primary, which isn't the full spectrum of the local level, but if you look at the precincts itself, she won by 18 points, 59-41 within the city of Flagstaff, within just our realm. So with that in mind, the fact that inevitably what we're looking for, to me, is who has the public support to be in this position, I feel that Ms. Putsova does make the short list on that realm and has the data to show it. So I am in support of Ms. Putsova moving forward, but I also will echo a bit of what Vice Mayor has stated, which is the fact that I appreciate fresh blood and new ideas. I am not set to a former council member taking this place. And this isn't not necessarily for 7 months, council. This is potentially for those who are also looking as to be write-in candidates, potentially for 4 years and 7 months. And we need to keep that in mind. This isn't just a Band-Aid to cross over. This is individuals who may be with us for quite some time. So I support Ms. Putsova moving forward into the interview process. And we will determine the other candidates and the number of individuals moving forward subsequently, but we will need majority opinion on this to move Ms. Putsova's application forward for interviews on Thursday. That's what I got.
And Mayor, if I may, that's just like you said, a majority or direction to the city clerk to include, that would either to include or not to include. Ms.
Yep,
Putsova
that's
in
all
the
we're doing
list.
on this
So,
agenda item.
thank you.
Should Ms. Putsova be included in that pool or not? And then we will deliberate further.
Was my response to that clear? I think it was. Yes.
Yes. And this is not support of the specific applicant to be voted into the council body. This is towards be included in the interview process amongst a unknown number of other applicants as of this time. Councilmember McCarthy.
This whole conversation is awkward. And the reason it's awkward is because one candidate asked that this be in public. So I just think we should note that that candidate created an awkward situation.
I wouldn't say the individual created, the individual used their own rights based on the law to be able to have this in a public forum as opposed to in a closed session. So I would not put that on the candidate. I would put that on, or I wouldn't say that's a token of transparency in this process. But we will need a fourth to be able to move forward here.
That is correct.
I keep thinking there's one more of us online somewhere.
And if others are not willing to speak, I am going to have to call a roll call here to see if Ms. Putsova moves forward. So,
Well, no
Councilmember Schwanning.
comment would be an assumption of what's the word I'm looking for? Agreement.
That's not true.
No, and on the circumstance, to my understanding.
Maybe someone
City
should make a motion. Someone should second the motion. We could have discussion, and then we could have a vote.
This is direction, but we can still call roll call on this front. City Attorney, please, if you could advise.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we're in a work session, and that's why a motion, a second, and a vote don't occur. Official action, legal action of the council does not occur in work sessions. As a result, it would be direction because, as has been noted, you are a 6-member council. There isn't a 7th out there in the ether sphere somewhere. You would have to have 4 for a majority direction to the city clerk to move Ms. Putzova forward to an interview on Thursday.
Thank you, Sterling, for the clarification.
And clarification, a roll call can be appropriate. If that is the question that the mayor asks, a roll call can happen.
Yep. And I'm happy for deliberation and contextualized discussion, but I'm just saying that if we're at a standstill here, I'm going to call roll call. All right, then roll call.
Councilmember Aslan,
We should advance her application.
Councilmember Salas,
Nay.
Mayor DC,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Sweet,
Nay.
Councilmember McCarthy,
Nay.
Councilmember Shimoni.
Yes.
Okay, with that, Ms. Putzova will not be moving forward, and I hope we all take tally of this as we discuss who other applicants go to the short list and the number of individuals that will now be making the short list. So, thank you. I think that gives clear enough direction. With that, I do believe, unless other further deliberation is needed, that we're about to adjourn. And Ms. Salzberg.
I'm really sorry. I wanted to just take a really quick moment to update the council and then also for our applicants and the public that may be watching as we are heading into executive session. Once the council has decided who they want to move forward, I will be contacting all applicants this evening via email. And then at the council meeting tomorrow, I will publicly announce for the public who has been selected to move forward to that interview process. So just wanted to provide that for everybody that might be present or watching. Thank you.
And
Thank you,
can I
Ms.
just
Salzberg.
double check, does everybody still want the job? God bless you all.
I'm done.
Thank you to all the applicants. I mean, the amount of time, the amount of desire to see this happen and the skills in this room are to be commended. And this is a very difficult decision by all of us. But just really appreciate all the applicants through this process. With that, meeting is adjourned.